What are some decent paying jobs you can get if you were a C student in high school? Trade school can open up high paying careers such as welding and HVAC. I must have done something wrong because I'm getting nowhere in HVAC. My husband makes a good bit as an HVAC installer and has been with his company for going on a year now. He went to school for it though and is certified. When he got the job, after being top of his HVAC class, the other employees actually made fun of him for going to school for it because all you have to do is apply to the company. You don't need school. But guess what? He started out making more than some that had been there for a while. He started helping others in the company who were there before him because he knew what he was doing going into the business. So I don't know if you went into HVAC by just applying or if you actually went to school for it first. But in our experience so far, going to school for it makes you higher qualified and makes you more money. The best has made is nearly $3,000 for one bi-weekly paycheck. And the worst has made was about $600 for one bi-weekly paycheck. With the current weather, there's been way less work despite living in southern Florida because it's still in the 50s some days and those are still bad days because those are cold days here. An apprenticeship for any of the trades that pay well. Electrician, HVAC, plumber, etc. The US is in the middle of the largest shortage of skilled labor in its history. You will have plenty of opportunities. I don't think anyone asks about HS grades. Could be wrong. Honestly, even construction. If you keep your nose clean and take care of yourself, it's not that bad. If you let yourself get out of shape and get into drugs and booze, you'll be hurting when you're 40. I started out of high school right at the bottom. I was handed a jackhammer and shown how to maintain it and what to do. 6 years later I was an operator, and now I'm in the process of becoming a foreman. The past 2 years I've made $70,000, and I only work 7 months a year. Turnover is high, so if you stick it out and have some brains you'll move right up. In all honesty, we only keep about 30% of the people we hire every year. I never realized how literal the term keep your nose clean was until I started working long shifts at a back-breaking job. Some people blow their nose and the napkin gets whiter. I've kept myself out of the butcher sugar, but there've been times I've only lived on caffeine, nicotine, and sugar for weeks. I feel that my body has built up a tolerance to the lower strength energy drinks, and so now I've switched back to Monsters, which I used to chug 3x a day as a kid and caused several cardiac issues. But what can I say, I'm money hungry. If you were decent with numbers and practical math, look into machining. I was a D student and I'm currently making $20 an hour in a state where the minimum wage is like $8. I'm sorry if I sound uncultured, but what's matching? Lol, y'all will never know. Thank you. A lot of factories are looking for machinists, and it's a fairly decent job to have, depending on work environment. The company I work for treats our machinists like kings and queens. Postal Service USP's always hiring, you just gotta be willing to work. But $18.56 starting ain't bad. My dad worked there for 35 years and is retired at 56. He loved it too. He recommends it to me as there's many options such as being a carrier or clerk. I'm definitely thinking of going down that path. I come from an entire family of USPS workers. Same male route passed down my family from my grandpa to grandma to mom. Now my dad does it. I'd be lying if I didn't think about going into USPS a couple times. I get baffled sometimes thinking that these people on this road have had their mail delivered almost every day by the same family line for over half a century by now. Yeah, that's weird, because it makes it sound like an office or route could be a family-owned business, which it isn't. So that's a weird coincidence. Their next of kin has always been with the post office for just the right amount of time to bid for their spot when they retire. Could be a very small town thing. Employers typically want something more tangible than grades. You're more likely to get asked about the projects and groups you've been involved in and the skill that came from those opportunities than being asked for your transcripts. They want to know you got your diploma or JED and then why you have skills for the job you're applying for. Also, side tip, if you're looking at a job that says college degree preferred or something to that effect. Apply anyways. There's no promise that an applicant with a college degree will apply, and the company may need to fill the position quickly, giving you a higher chance of getting hired. I've never asked a candidate, nor have ever been interviewed about what group projects I did in school or what clubs I have ever been a part of, nor have I ever heard anyone ask for that information even from recent college grads. In my experience, they never ask specifically about that, but they'll ask questions that are basically that. They'll ask stuff like, tell me about a time when someone on your team wasn't pulling their weight, or have you ever had to work with someone difficult? As a student, academic work is your only experience probably, so that's what you have to talk about. Go into the trades. Electrician, plumber, etc. They make bank once they get to journeyman, which takes about 4 to 5 years. Edit. Yes, it can be very hard work and hard on your body. Probably want to plan for something else beyond your mid-40s. Even apprentices make well above $10/HR here in the Midwest, and raises come quick for competent trainees. It's a good living. Hard work when the work needs to get done, but there's a lot of the regular old daily grind as well. I'd honestly recommend that even the students look at this for a career path for consideration. If you're the type of person that likes to work with your hands and see the results of your work, then the trades are going to offer a very rewarding life. Agreed. It's been almost 4 years and I'll be taking my electrician journeyman's test in a few months. Choosing this career path is one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life. And the fact that I'm no longer struggling financially still baffles me. Never thought I'd get out of paycheck to paycheck living. And yes, the raises come fast, frequent, and are substantial every time, like $3 or $4 per hour at a time. Good luck on that test, my friend, and thanks for working to keep things connected and running. Thank you. Your grades in high school only matter if you're trying to get into college. Employers don't care as long as you graduate. Some employers don't even care if you graduated. I'm on my 3rd big boy job in my degree field, STEM field. I'm 33 and not one single fucking interviewer has asked for proof that I even attended college. It kinda pisses me off. Like the day I turned 21, I walked confidently into Speedway and picked out a 6-pack. Strolled up to the register and the cashier said, "That'll be X dollars, please sue." No, bitch. I finally have these credentials that allow me to do this. Your damn Skippy gonna check them. Edit. Wow. Big response to something I kinda just dashed off. Let me circle back to Op's original question. CS in high school can still get you into college or maybe a community college for your prereqs and gen ed classes, and it's a whole lot cheaper. If you are at a place where you're starting to wonder if your academic performance has been good enough so far, if you're still in high school, you're doing fine. 1. Don't get arrested for anything, especially a DUI. Keep your record clean. 2. Once you get into college, try a little harder. Try to focus a little more. High is a tall pile of bullshit you have to slog through. This is an important life skill. College feels less like bullshit, so trying harder comes a little easier. One of the hardest parts about college is just how poor you're gonna be the whole time, unless your parents are paying for everything. Either way though, if you are kinda just coasting through high school, you can still do fine. Don't worry too much. The worst thing you could do is just keep kinda coasting. Yeah. Never had to prove I graduated anything, except when I went to substitute teach, or that kind of job. I work with people that are functionally illiterate. They make $18/fee and get 50 to 70 hours a week in a call area. May I ask the field? I work with people that are functionally illiterate. May I ask the field you're hired? Believe it or not, air traffic controller. My uncle makes $155,000 a year for federal benefits, and he was a high school dropout who obtained a JED. The job is really about a set of natural skills that only about 40% of the population has. It may be you. I've thought about doing this. What's the skills you are talking about? Active listening, speaking, critical thinking, judgment and decision making, complex problem solving. At least those are a few the FAA lists. Here is a longer list of responsibilities and skills. Link. Annette and line. org/link/summary/53-2021 To be qualified, all you need is 3 years work experience or a 4-year degree, under the age of 31 at time of application, and able to pass a medical and a background check. Also, be willing to move anywhere in the US. Why do they require you to be under 31? They have a certain age they are required to retire by. So in order to get enough years of service, you'd have to start before age 31. What do you call a doctor that gets C's in medical school? A doctor. What do you call the person who graduated last in medical school? Doctor. What do you call the person who dropped out of medical school? A dentist. Edit. So many angry dentists. So to clarify, the person who told me this was a dentist. It's a joke. I know you're real doctors. This guy's a rabid anti-dentite. Next thing you know, you'll say they should have their own schools. Nobody but college admissions boards give a shit what your GPA in high school was. True, but it does help with scholarships. My friend got a full paid scholarship to a state college for 4 years because he had a 4.7 GPA. Think his point was it's more for college related subjects vs anything else. Everybody else tends to care more about the actual diploma and an actual degree than grades themselves in general. It's way more important that you have a clean criminal record than be an honor student in high school. I can't figure out why more people don't get this. Agreed. Your grades only really matter for college entrance, scholarship eligibility, internships in college. Real world doesn't give two shits about your grades. Just your work ethic and experience. Grad school certainly cares about your grades. If you want a career that requires grad school, you better focus on your grades. Edit. Yes, I know grad school isn't looking at high school grades. My comment really should have been more focused on getting good grades in high school to go to a good undergrad. Grad school cares about your undergrad grades, the strength of the program you attended, your score on whatever graduate entrance exam you take, GRE, MCAT, GMAT, LSAT, etc. Closed bracket comma, and your extracurriculars. Sure, your college grades matter to an extent, but not really after your first full-time job, unless you're going back to school. Your high school grades actually nobody will care about once you're in college. I went to grad school 6 years after I finished my bachelor's, and while I had to take the GMAT, I don't think it mattered much. Still got in and did okay. Also got mediocre grades in high school, and now I'm a director of technology at a pretty large company. Not because I'm smart. It's only because I made friends with people who knew people. I have no idea what the grades were of any of my employees, and I don't give a living shit. Do they have experience? Can they speak and communicate clearly? Are they not a jackass? Excellent. Grades. Who gives a shit? Also, fuck data sufficiency. Nobody doing the hiring is going to give a shit about your high school grades. True. You either graduated or you didn't. They care about the diploma. And when it comes to high school, they don't care much about it even then. You get paid for risk, responsibility, skill, and rarity. With only high school, it'll take some luck and a long time to work up the skill angle, and nobody's going to give you responsibility out of the gate either. Which leaves risk if you want some pay. And even then, there are a lot of other people in your shoes competing with you, so the bonus that comes with risk is reduced by the lack of rarity of what you can offer. Gray area stuff tends to pay more. You could probably find work in the legal portions of the sex industry and expect to bring in some money. To all the people saying they don't care about your diploma, they care enough to ask if you have it, to set it as a minimum job requirement. You can lie if you want, and in most places you'll probably get away with it. But if they didn't care at all, they wouldn't ask. And I've never lied on a resume and can't imagine myself doing so. You could probably find work in the legal portions of the sex industry and expect to bring in some money. What if I'm a C student that also happens to be unattractive? People into kinky shit can't be super picky. Just saying. This guy watches. Programmer see that you have shown that you have proficiency in the C language. Unfortunately, C is seen as too low these days. Everyone wants C++. C++ takes too long to write. Everyone wants C-edit. If there's one thing Reddit loves, it's arguing over programming languages. Lol. Only musicians and optometrists want C //. Optometrists want to get paid. They don't want you to see ash. Federal government. There are thousands of job postings, many of which don't require a degree and are open to the public and recent grads. They do, however, require high grades on state exams passed out every few years, at least a few years of experience in the same field, and have some absolutely absurd competition. Last year, I sat an exam for a position as a library assistant for an inner city library. It was part-time, paid barely over minimum wage, and required a year of experience. There were over 3 dozen people sitting that same test. Just something to think about. I guess it depends on the position. Entry-level admin requires none of that. It's just a resume and some basic Microsoft skills. I started as part-time at double the minimum wage. I quickly became full-time and my salary has steadily increased. The key is to get your foot in the door and you can climb up from the inside. And to reinforce what others have mentioned, a clean criminal and credit record are far more important than grades. I think we live in different places. Entry-level admin is far more brutal than that in New York. Hey friend. Take it from a former C-grade student. During the parent-teacher interviews in my senior years, I was told by my careers advisor to give up my dreams on being an engineer because I was behind the other students. But guess who's an engineer now? Fuck you, millisecond bird. It's about finding something you wanna do, and that can be daunting. But if you want it enough, you will find avenues to where you wanna be, dude. So don't worry about your high school grades. Show them you have work ethic and that you're willing to put in the hard yards. I was told not to go to university. Now I'm towards the end of my engineering degree, haha. To risk sounding like my old man. The average age of people in the trades, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, etc. are all getting older. So there is a demand for young people. They pay exceedingly well when you've topped out, and not too bad as a noob. And they don't care if you even graduated or not, so long as you're willing to work. If you're a good communicator, get into sales. Then upgrade into industry, BTB. Motivation, flexibility and bite will bring you forward. Automotive, railways or aviation. 70k at age 30, 100k at 45. My favorite high school teacher, and coincidentally my favorite college professor, said nobody outside these walls are going to care if you passed with a C or an A. All they care about is whether or not you passed. College added on, there's no such thing as a C diploma or an A diploma needed because of the amount of people applying. Not in my field eyes. Some fields it matters. 98% of fields it doesn't. I've never met someone that lost out on their career because they got a C average in college. Though I'm sure there's a career out there that it's happened. The point is, those fields are the minority. Good grades doesn't always convert to physical skill and knowledge. You can have A+ average and be terrible in your field because you can't figure out how to apply your knowledge. D's get degrees was my former acquaintance's motto. She was very proud of those D's and is a horrible/lazy worker. But she has a degree and trust that no one really asked about her GPA. I used to stress over grades due to my parent making me think otherwise. But I learned it's fine to suck at certain subjects and pull off a C in it. Had I known long ago to have that mentality, school would have been a shit ton of more fun instead of the shit show it was due to the stress of feeling like I'd never get anywhere in life if I made a single C, let alone B's were stressful. I cringe at those days. Way too much pressure on myself. Not saying don't do your best, but don't freak out over every last thing. There is huge demand for HVAC technicians and plumbing service professionals. After a few years of experience and some time in trade school classes, you can definitely start making a good living. I just was accepted as a plumbing apprentice. Apprentices don't make a ton, but after 2 years you make good money. I'm in my 30s. It's a career change for me, but I'm so excited. It's a lot of hard work and training, but it pays. I'm thinking about doing this as well. If you don't mind my asking, Did you have any prior experience or take any classes before going into it? No, I actually lucked out and got a recommendation from a good friend to a person who he knows that owns a plumbing company. He knew I wanted a career change and asked if I would be interested. The interview was tough, but they offered me the job. It's a small outfit. They needed one more apprentice. They do all on the job training and shoot for placing apprentices in their own truck in 18 to 24 months. To be fair though, I have been working in the trades for the past 5 years, and that prop definitely helped. I do also know, however, that one of the apprentices is only 18 right out of high school. Try to find a smaller outfit that wants to invest in their employees. The union run around can take a lot more time. Hey, thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.